And good morning. Welcome to the Falcons Podcast. I think we're ready to go. We're going to hit live anyway. It is a frigid Monday morning in the South with wind chills in the single digits. That's cold. We're going to bring in our Facebook group, Atlanta Falcons on SI, and we're going to bring in our X group. That's at Scout Kennedy. And then we will get going. Then I'm going to mute my phone that I forgot to do while those are coming online. And we are good to go. Welcome in, y'all. This is the Falcons Podcast. It is Monday morning. It is in the single digits. It is cold. Luckily, I'm heading south for the winter. Tomorrow morning, I'm heading for Mobile for the Senior Bowl. The Atlanta Falcons have done a lot of work at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people have. They've had over 100 and something different players, and 90% of them get drafted. So a lot of work begins at the Senior Bowl. And their motto is the draft begins at the Senior Bowl. And it's hard to argue with that. So 3 days of practice, get down there Tuesday morning. They have Tuesday afternoon practices, both teams, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and then we'll come home Thursday night. Programming note is Wednesday morning, we will podcast from Mobile, from the house that we rented on Wednesday morning, just on regular schedule. And then if I'm up to it, we'll see what we do on Friday morning when we get back. But we'll do something over the weekend as a recap for sure for Senior Bowl risers and fallers. Now, why is that important that it comes up? Well, it bothers me a little bit that the Atlanta Falcons don't have a general manager in place with the Senior Bowl in full swing. Now, that is basically a coaches convention down there, and a lot of hires and new jobs happen when they're down there anyway, and a lot happens. It's an unofficial coaches convention, but there is still a lot of good stuff to see down there, and a lot of especially day 2, day 3 guys who frankly make up the bulk of your roster if you're going to be a competitive team. You get one superstar a year if you're lucky, but then you get hopefully 2 or 3 role players who play a big role on your team on rookie contracts. We go back, most of y'all have watched us long enough to understand that, of players that we've seen that we like that have gone in round 3, 4, 5, that have gone on to be starters in the NFL. And it worries me a little bit that the Falcons don't have an official staff down there yet. And they won't, because even if they hired Ian Cunningham today, which is a possibility, they conducted a lot of their second interviews and general manager interviews on Friday. They could announce that this week, but would they do that, or would they wait until they introduce Kevin Stefanski? I don't know, but the Falcons they still have staff. So I'm sure they'll be represented down there, when you're talking about building a staff, you're not going to hire somebody that doesn't already know what's going on. So let's say, Scott just got hired for general manager. Well, I've known that this was coming for the last month. I've built a staff. I've already said, hey, let's say John Harrell, listen, I think I'm going to get this Falcons job. You've been scouting here for a while. We're close. You want to come with me, and I'm going to do this for you. So whoever's coming in, they've already got a staff built, but I'd still feel a little better if it was, officially an Atlanta Falcons staff that was going to be down there, and not people like, from the scouting department that aren't 100% sure that they're going to have jobs in a couple of weeks. So, if we're going to do a fresh start, that also begins with scouting as well. And I'm sure there will be some additions, subtractions, et cetera, et cetera. So on that note, I want to say hello to some folks that have come in here nice and early, like Floyd. Floyd's always in the comments too. So good morning, Scott. Good morning, Floyd. I hope you are doing well, and I hope everybody is staying safe out there. As far as ice and stuff goes, we were okay. I taunted the weather gods a little bit when I got up, when I saw one little Michael Irvin line in my gutters of sleet. And then when that squall line came through and the limbs were frozen, I butt up right up against the Chattahoochee National Forest. So that's my backyard. It sounded like the opening of deer season out there with all of the pine trees snapping and popping and all this stuff. I was like, uh-oh. And I've already dug 2 trees out of the pool and 1 off the driveway in the 10 years that I've lived here. So I was like, uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Venom RS 660 says, it's been a year since I've been able to make a live stream from the start. Happy to be here. LFG. Well, we're glad you're here. Glad you're able to make it. And hopefully, you can make some more, unless you can't, it's like, well, I'm off work today and I'm going back to work. So I hope it's a positive reason that you're here, not a negative reason. So I hope you were doing well. He offers up the coffee emoji. I'll drink to that. I got my Lion coffee this morning. We can talk a little bit more about some coffee too. Already said hello to John. John is a dear member. He says, good morning all. I want to shout out some members. Over the course of the last week, we've had a bunch of new signups. So I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you. The Bryce is Wrong signed up on Wednesday. So did Bobby Means. GTX Boy did as well. Matthew Wanderson signed up. Southside Ricky, thank you very much. And then Michael Quintana came back to the fold. I want to say thank you to each of you for being members. It helps me be able to keep doing this year round when things start slowing down in the sports industry. The membership helps us out a lot. So thank you very much. What also helps, Curtis is a member and he's given a super chat. He says, good morning, Scott and Nick and Falcons Nation. That's all y'all. Pats, Patriots, and Hawks, Seahawks Super Bowl. Clint's stock just skyrocketed. Hope a general manager is announced soon. Yeah, and you start looking at some of the teams that are out there that are still left. And you're like, how many good jobs are there still? Like, well, there's actually a few. Steelers are still out there. Bills are still out there. And then you've got teams like the Browns and the Raiders and the Cardinals, I think, are still kind of waiting to see where else some of these top guys go so they can fill in, so to speak. Hell, Vance Joseph's stock looked pretty good. The defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, keeping him in that game yesterday. He's done a great job. But Kubiak, there's people that don't like screenplays, and that's just because you either don't have the personnel or don't know how to run them. Watching the Seahawks run a screen is a work of art. They had the fake to the running back left screen, come back right wide receiver screen, and then watching Kenneth Walker get in space, he's just a bowling ball tackle breaker, and then he can make guys miss too. In the passing game it's a thing of beauty. I love a good screenplay. For the same reason I like watching tight ends get loose in the defensive backfield. Watching a 275-pound guy trying to tackle him in the back, it's diabolical. It's one of the things we love about the sport. Watching 600 to 900 pounds of beef get out in front of a running back in the flats, it's fun. That's fun. I love a good screenplay. I hope it's a good Super Bowl. The crazy thing is yes, the Patriots are obviously a good team, but we don't know how good they actually are. I'm telling you. Are they good? Like, wow, they're 16-3. That's historically good. Or are they just, they're pretty good. They've had an amazing schedule. They get the Denver Broncos with a quarterback that started 4 career games and hasn't played in 2 years and win 10-7. I don't know how good they are. I know if Sam Darnold's playing like he's been playing and like he did yesterday, I know the Seahawks are damned good. That much I'm just about sure of. But I'm hoping Sam Darnold has a good game and we get a good Super Bowl out of it. But Kubiak is I don't think he got enough love during the process. I really don't. Another member coming in. Thank you, sir. He says, it's interesting we haven't made a hire. You'd think a prospective GM would have been part of the head coach hire. I think they were. There isn't anybody that they talk to before making the hire. They think, what would you think about working with this person or this person or this person? Give me the pluses or minuses on this. They were involved. It might not have been as an official capacity, but they were involved. And I still think it's going to be Ian Cunningham. I think that's who it's going to end up being. Read a past report. I was looking at his name. I'm like, when did all this happen? It all starts running together for me. The last interview was Friday, and there's somebody put out there it looked like nonsense to me. And I still think it's nonsense that, since Matt Ryan's the primary decision maker, the Bears don't get 2 comp picks. That's not true, or else the Bears would be able to block that. The Bears will get a 3rd in 2026 and a 3rd in 2027 is how I read that works if he gets hired. And I still think it's going to be Ian Cunningham. The same would happen for the 49ers too, that Matt Ryan is the primary decision maker. It's nonsense. Rich McKay was the CEO of the Atlanta Falcons football. The general manager reported up through him last time. Him and the head coach were on the same level. That happens in a lot of places. So, thinking the GM would have been poached. If I'm sure he was consulted, and they've got a pretty good idea who it is, and that Kevin Stefanski was going to be hired. And if it cost them somebody, we'll never know. Like, no, I'm going to stick around here. Maybe their number one was Josh Williams, and Josh Williams of the 49ers said, I'm gonna stay here for another year and see what else opens up, because there's only one general manager opening in the NFL. And it's the time ticking now is draft preparation, is free agency preparation. Well, they're doing that anyway. If I started right now, and I haven't been doing draft work for 6 months, for a year, I'm going to start tomorrow on my draft work. And come the end of April, I'm going to have a pretty good idea what a draft board is going to look like. We got a pretty good idea what free agency is going to look like. These guys have been doing this full time anyway, so they'll hit the ground running. So I never bought this, on Terry Fontenot's first draft, which was not good. Well, he didn't have this, or this. I'm like, well, what the hell's he been doing? How did he get the job? He had the Falcons scouting staff. He's the general manager. So that's not an excuse. If you're not prepared for free agency in the draft right now, right this minute, as a general manager, you don't need to be general manager. I'll tell you that much. Appreciate you, Air. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Nick Sutton also coming in with a super. Hope you're doing well. He says, do you think we'll come away with a big defensive tackle in this draft? Yes, I do. And when I say draft, growing up an Atlanta Falcons fan, free agency was a non-factor for me. Except for who was leaving. The Falcons did not sign quality free agents before Arthur Blank came and took over as owner of the NFL. So for me, the draft is the offseason in my head. And I just always have to remember when we say draft, we might as well say offseason. Yes, I think the Falcons come away this offseason with a big defensive tackle, a 320-pound plus defensive tackle, whether it's draft or free agency, because you can get those guys in free agency for relatively cheap. You don't want to go $1.2 million again if you can avoid it, but $5 million gets you a really good nose guard. They can peel off $5 million for a nose guard. And frankly, a 27-year-old $5 million nose guard is probably going to be better than a 22-year-old rookie, because it's a grown man's league in the trenches. That the prime for those guys is like 28 to 32 years old. So yes, I think the Falcons will get bigger on the defensive side of the ball. I have full faith in that. If I'm looking at second and third and fourth, I believe it's second, third, and fourth. They're missing their first and fifth. Second, third, and fourth round picks. I want a receiver, a corner, and a defensive tackle in the draft. And then in free agency, I want a receiver and a corner for sure out of those bunch. And then probably a bridge quarterback in there too. And I want a little bit more depth on the offensive line. I could use another linebacker. Let's see what happens with Caden Ellis on that. So we'll start getting into draft talk in earnest and free agency. We'll talk a little free agency today, actually, but like specific targets and who you could go and start running mock drafts with me, other than just looking at saying, I don't know who that is, but he's a guy in this spot. We'll start doing that next week as well, Nick. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Real Talk Gentleman 64 is also a member. Thank you, my friend. He says, good morning. Good morning, Scott, from Denver. Ooh. Oh, man. I don't like Sean Payton. Don't get me wrong. I admire him as a football coach. He's unbelievably arrogant, which happens for guys that have had that level of success and can get to that level to have success. He made a big mistake not taking the points yesterday with a first starting quarterback in the second quarter, 9 minutes left, 4th and 1. The weather was coming in, so you might be. I'm not sure how long you'll be in Denver. They're a lot more equipped to handle it, but not taking the points, knowing that place was just about to get hammered by a blizzard in the second half, was a big mistake. And he admitted it after he says, yeah, you have second thoughts, you have some regrets. But that was a mistake yesterday. So I hope you're doing okay in Denver. RTG says, hope the wait on the GM is the Falcons doing due diligence on every candidate. Love the podcast. Well, love you, brother. Thank you very much. I'm not sure what the holdup necessarily was, other than getting their ducks in a row, so to speak. Matt Ryan and Ryan Poles up in Chicago are friends, and evidently he's been leaning on him a little bit. And it wouldn't surprise me a bit if it ends up being Ian Cunningham. Ian Cunningham may have been taking, or whoever it is, but I'm just going to say Ian Cunningham for the sake of this exercise. They've been building their staff. He's been building his staff. Whoever the candidate is has been building their staff in the background. I think there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get this job. Do you want to come with me? And they've got a pretty good idea. That's part of the interview process. When they're talking to head coaches, who are you going to be able to bring in as a staff? That's part of the interview process. Who are you going to be? Who's going to be your head scout? Who's going to be doing this? Who's going to be doing that? Well, we like this guy. You might want to talk to him, like Ulbrich. They might come in and say, well, what about Zach Robinson? No, he's gone. That's all part of the interview process. So I don't know why. Again, I would have liked to have had Falcons staff officially in place before heading down to Mobile today. That's when they'll be on their way. But I don't think it really makes that big a difference. All the metrics and all the video is available, and they'll have staff there, and anybody they might hire some guys that are going to be down there anyway. But it would have made me feel better. It would have made us feel better that 31 teams have a general manager and staff down in Mobile, and the Falcons still don't officially know who's going to be making the picks on draft day. So let's get back into some of the folks that have come in. I want to say actually we got a couple more supers. So second and short Falcon report and Nick Suckin coming in again. I'll come back to you here. I do want to say hello to some folks like Sam Klontz, one of our dear members, has come in. The Price is Wrong, one of our new members. Smooth C78. Earl Thompson, thank you for coming in. Cash Bag Beats, he's on the mobile side of things right now. He says, good morning. What do we think about cutting Charlie Warner for cap savings and getting cheaper options for run blocking? On January 13th, so that was almost 2 weeks ago, I wrote up an article that says everything you need to know about the Atlanta Falcons salary cap problems and some solutions. And basically I said 5 moves for $50 million. And number one, the priority free agent I put in was Caden Ellis. And I also put in that you need to probably tag Kyle Pitts and then figure it out from there. Talk about Kirk Cousins when the savings was more about being able to sign people before the move. To the Kirk Cousins move, and if you haven't seen this, if you're hearing this again for the second, third, or fourth time, I apologize. But they didn't save any money on Kirk Cousins. What they did was open up money in March so that they can sign or put the franchise tag on Kyle Pitts so they can re-sign some of their own guys before they hit free agency, like a Caden Ellis. On March 13th, Kirk Cousins is going to count $22.5 million against the cap with $12 million going in 2027. So that money is still coming. It's just they were up against the cap, and on the first day of the new year, you have to be under the cap. Well, they couldn't have signed Caden Ellis and Kyle Pitts and been under the cap unless they had made that accounting move. And then there's other moves you can make after March 13th to then get under the cap. But that just kind of opened up the timeline. I kind of said it was like paying the minimum on my credit card in June when I'm planning on paying the balance in July. I needed that cash for something else in June. I still have to pay it in July. But that sale, it wasn't going to be there in June. I was going to miss out on it. I had to get it now. So I'm going to take a little bit of interest and pay it next month. That's what the Falcons did with Kirk Cousins. But one of the moves I put in there was Charlie Warner. It was also obviously Darnell Mooney. You can, if you make him a post June 1 cut, you get almost $12 million in savings. You can get up to $14 million in a trade for Jesse Bates. That's I ended up taking a restructure money on that one. But I did Charlie Warner, was one of those guys. The savings you get on him is $4.75 million. He says he's an excellent blocking tight end, but he carries a cap hit of 5.75 against $1 million dead. A $6 million blocking tight end is a bit of a luxury that this team really can't afford. They've got other things they need to address. before you've got a $25 million safety, before you've got a $6 million blocking tight end. So, yes, I think Charlie Warner is probably going to be cut, could be back on a cheaper deal. And if it is, that's the restructure. Sometimes, he restructured his deal. Sometimes that is you're about to be cut and you're getting a pay cut. Sometimes that is we want to you're young and we want to keep you a long time. So we're going to move some of your money down and pay you off extend your contract, pay off your salary and a signing bonus so we can stretch that signing bonus across 5 years. Hope that makes sense. If not, hit the comments and I've got more time to talk about it afterwards. Earl Thompson, good morning. Hope you are doing well. Also, Smooth says, are you going to do the video clips like last year? Hopefully better than last year, to be perfectly honest, Smooth. I was disappointed with my output last year. To be fair, it was the first year, 2025. It was the first year that I was also an on SI publisher and had 5 websites I was producing as well. But I only did like 20 clips maybe last year, and I've done up to 80 to 85 in years past. So I want to get at least 50 this year. So I'm not traveling. I'm not going. One year it was I think my 50th birthday, and I took off. I got back from Mobile and then took off for vacation. Last year, I did a quick trip to Europe with my son right before because I knew baseball was starting. So this year, I'm planning on doing many more clips. The channel's bigger, should have a bigger audience. And the first one I always do quarterbacks, and I do offensive and defensive lineman one-on-ones first. I'm not sure how good the quarterback situation is going to be down in Mobile, so we'll see. We'll see. That always helps, though. When Bo Nix and Michael Penix were down there, that was good for business. That was definitely good for business. Getting back to the Supers, second and short. Falcons Report says, good morning. Did everyone just miss a day of Senior Bowl week with the storm? Please get a good look at Texas DL Lee Hunter. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, my friend. I like the linemen are my favorite part. That's where you can really, really find value. There's not a ton of first rounders that go to the Senior Bowl. They're like, my stock's good. I don't need to go and hurt my stock. There's not a ton that go down there. There's not a lot of skill players, of upper tier skill players that go down there. Now, they can have a good week. You get like Ricky Pearsall, Christian Watson, guys that really did well. There was another guy, Luke McCaffrey had a good week and came out of there really well. So they can certainly help their stock for sure. But the value for me in the Senior Bowl is in the trenches. You can get some of these. God, I forget names so fast these days. What was it? The Jones kid from UConn that ended up in Baltimore. Who watched him up at UConn? As far as us, as far as fans, draftniks, there weren't a ton of people. The super crazy people were watching him. I'm not that crazy in the draft anymore. That's what I used to do for a living. But they have great. The trenches, you can get great value on day 2 and day 3, and that's where I will. So I'll get a good look at all the DL for sure. Looking forward to it. Nick coming back in says, do you think it's NFC South Championship or bust next year for Stefanski to be looked at as a good hire? No, I don't. And part of the reason is because the quarterback uncertainty. They're not sure what's going to happen at quarterback. If Michael Penix comes back and he's not good, then that's going to be looked more as a failure for the previous regime and for the draft, for the team he was set up with. And then he would get a chance to draft his own quarterback in 2027, and then he'd probably get 2 years. So that'd be a 3-year cycle. Because of the uncertainty in that position, I think he'll get an extra year. It'll be a year of, let's find out what we have. If it fails, then you get a 2-year start over window with a new quarterback in 2027. Raheem didn't get 3 years because they got their quarterback in year 1 with Kirk Cousins. They spent all that money. Now, let's say Sam Darnold hits free agency again. Okay. If you give Sam Darnold a 4-year, $180 million contract, your clock starts now. Now you got 2 years. So I'd say yes. But because of the uncertainty at the quarterback position, next year will be a let's see what happens year. And if it doesn't go well, they'll be back in the market in 2027 for a quarterback, and then your 2-year clock starts. How does that sound for everybody? Does that sound fairly reasonable on that? Interested to hear your thoughts as well. Terrell Thomas, good to see you. He says, rise up. We're up, baby. Glad to be up. Let's see. Daily Talon is also a member. What are your thoughts on the Douglas interview? Is there a good chance he gets hired, or are Cunningham and Williams still the front runners? I still think it's Cunningham and Williams. I think it's Cunningham. Confidently enough that we've pre-written the story. That all we have to do is fill in anything that happens, we hit publish. We've pre-written the story that we think this is what's going to happen. So we think it's going to be Cunningham. And then, we'll see from there. GATX, he says, the Steelers hired Mike McCarthy. You're right. That happened last night. Apologies. I did forget about that. So the Raiders, Browns, and Cardinals and Bills are the only jobs available. If you're looking at those four, one is not like the other. When it comes to which job would you rather have? So who's the top candidate out there? Kubiak? Is Kubiak still the top guy? Raiders, Browns, Cardinals, and Bills. One of those is not quite like the other. That said, there are some pissed off Buffalo Bills fans that Brandon Beane still has a job when Sean McDermott doesn't. It's okay. And I've likened this to when Mike Smith got fired. I'm like, all right, if you're going to fire Mike Smith, fine, but you need to fire Thomas Dimitroff too. And that's how the Buffalo Bills fans think about it. Darnold's cap is $14 million for this year. You talking about this? So I did that. The story says everything you need to know. You can do a Google search on it, or I'll drop the link in it later. Everything you need to know about the Falcons salary cap, problems and solutions. 5 moves for $50 million. The one thing I didn't quite articulate very well is the first year of a free agent contract is always the lowest in the cap hit. So if you said, okay, I can sign 5 guys for $10 million a year. Well, not really. No, you can't. You can do better than that. I could sign George Pickens to 4 years, $180 million, and structure it like Cousins' contract. And even though he's on roughly $50 million a year, Cousins' first season cap hit, I think, was $20 or $25 million. The Minnesota Vikings were actually paying him more in dead money than the Falcons, than he had as a cap hit in the first year. So because you can lengthen contracts and give signing bonuses up front and then spread that signing bonus across the length of the contract, the smallest cap hit number is almost always year one, almost always. So you can end up paying for it on the back end, like you're going to with Cousins. Well, you paid for that all the time, but you can lower the value hit. So $50 million in free agencies could be a lot of money. There could be, now, frankly, I would rather get some depth pieces. I'd rather bring in 8 guys whose cap hits are $50 million than 2. I think this team needs more than that. I mean, you definitely need wide receivers. You want to go after George Pickens? I don't really want to go after George Pickens. He's going to cost a buttload of money. Drake London's going to cost a buttload of money. Pay Drake. I mean, you could conceivably pay them both, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys are probably going to end up doing. But pay Drake and build up around him. Draft wide receivers, draft wide receivers, draft wide receivers is how I think about it. Rudy says Zach Robinson screenplays were garbage. Not all of them. I'm not going to say all of them were. He did have some really nice ones. I mean, Bijan caught a bunch of passes out of the backfield. Of course, Bijan's also a cheat code. It's like, oh, that play is about to. It looks like the Falcons are going to be thrown for a lot. Wait, Bijan made 17 guys miss in the backfield and turned a 7-yard loss into a 2-yard gain. I mean, he definitely helped for sure on that one. The The tight end screen drives me nuts, though, and has for years. I've got, a punt returner in the slot, quick twitch punt returner guy, and then I've got, a tight end who takes a little bit longer to get going. He should be blocking. I don't need screens to Kyle Pitts. I don't want Kyle Pitts catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage flat-footed. I want him moving. Hit Kyle Pitts in stride. Tight end screens drive me crazy. Little slants, crossing routes, all that stuff. Love them in tight ends. Tight ends catching the ball unless it's for a first down, on a button hook. No. Get them in motion. Catch them. Yeah, I apologize. I forgot about McCarthy going to the Steelers. He's a huge Pittsburgh guy. I guess that's where he's from. John says, what's the number one position you're looking out for? While I am down in Mobile, I'll be looking for, day two guys. And I want to see if there's anybody that stands out at corner. There will be guys that stand out at wide receiver as day two guys. That happens all the time. And then for me, defensive tackle. Big nose guards. Edge is okay. I mean, don't really think you need another 280-pound defensive end. The Falcons are pretty good there. Zach Harrison, if you can get him healthy, we're not going to go on a rant about health this morning in this Atlanta Falcons team either. But I think you're pretty good in the Brandon Dorless mold, Zach Harrison mold, those 280 guys to 290, just under 300 end types that can also slide inside at times. I'm looking for a guy that can hold the point of attack against two blockers in the run game, a solid 3-tech, 1-tech, nose guard, nose tackle, space-eating defensive tackle. That's what I'm looking for because they'll be there. There'll be some here. I want to see who it's going to be. And if I didn't already say corner, but basically day two, corners, wide receivers, defensive tackles, and then whoever shows up. I'll do can't remember his name. Golly, I think it was 2 years ago. Right tackle, DeJuan Jones, maybe. Right tackle, Ohio State, put on a show day one, packed up his gear and left. And I think he ended up getting drafted pretty high. Washington, I can't remember his name. So I can remember my first grade teacher, but I can't remember what happened, 2 weeks ago. But that's what I'm looking for just for this team. For general draft talk, you always talk quarterbacks. And could the Falcons draft a quarterback? Yeah, they could. They could draft a quarterback, not in the second round. Hopefully not in the third round, but they could take a guy later on, day three. I mean, it's the perfect thing to do if you're not allergic to trading back. Okay, I moved down from 45 to 47, picked up a 7th round pick. And then with my 7th round pick, I took a shot on a quarterback. Great. Collect picks. Take more chances. You need rookie contract guys, some guys that can play. Let's see here. Mad Scientist says both teams should get comp picks if they really want to push the diversity of the hire. At least it's not like baseball where you sign a free agent and it costs you a first-round pick, in compensation. This is just a compensation pick from the league. So it's the comp picks. And what happens is there's two positions. If you hire a minority candidate, if you've brought in a minority candidate, I think he has to be there at least 2 years. You've got him on your staff. He's been working. You've basically hired and developed him, and he gets a general manager or a head coaching job. Then you get 2 third-round picks as compensation for that. It encourages you to hire minority candidates. Like I said, I think you have to be 2 years, and it may only happen once because there's been no talk of that about with Robert Saleh. So, and he's only been there 1 year. So I don't think that would be a thing for them. Let's see. As we scroll down, I'm going to scroll down towards the bottom, say hello to some folks. Brian says, don't kid yourself. Arthur Blank is the primary decision maker. He has stamp of final authority for sure, but they're not asking him everything. They're not going to ask Arthur Blank for his permission on everything that happens in the Atlanta Falcons. He actively stepped back from that type of stuff and put 2 layers between him and the coaches. which before it was Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot reported directly to Arthur Blank. Well, now there's Matt Ryan and Greg Beatles and then Blank. So he's stepped back some. What happens when he is no longer calling the shots when there's basically a new owner? Will they want to be more hands-on, more hands-off? We'll see. Chris, OG, good to see you. Says, good morning, everyone. I hope that all of you are safe and an enjoyable weekend. I'd be happy with Cunningham as our next GM. Yeah, I think that's I like the background on there. There's a common theme here. Everybody they've talked to has won and is coming from winning organizations. Wow, what a concept. So, I think there's one exception in there. What were they interviewed somebody from the Titans, maybe? I don't remember who it was. I've been focused on, okay, that, Weedle, that's a nice name from the Steelers. Okay, fine. But it's going to be Williams or Cunningham. I'll be really surprised if it's not. Let's see here as far as we're going through here. Dirty Bird Star, one of our members, says, what are the bridge QB options that will be available this offseason? It's a shame Mac Jones still has another year because I'd like to give him an opportunity. I'll tell you, one of the guys that I've looked at, and again, people sometimes will say, oh, he's terrible, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, guys, we're talking about someone you don't want to play. A break glass in case of emergency that maybe can win you a game or two. But as far as price and, history goes, one of the guys I liked best, honestly, was Gardner Minshew. He signed a veteran minimums deal. He's 30 years old. He was on $1.2 million with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a free agent. Otherwise, you start looking, Daniel Jones is going to be expensive, even coming off an injury. Aaron Rodgers is still out there. Russell Wilson, no. Marcus Mariota, there's no way he'd come back to Atlanta. Zach Wilson is intriguing as a 3, but he doesn't have any starting experience. Harley, yes, that's not true. It just was so bad we forgot him. He hasn't had any starting experience since leaving New York. Let's put it that way. And he got a big deal. He got a big money deal from Miami for what he was. Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco. Would you rather have Gardner Minshew or Joe Flacco? If it's to help with familiarity with systems, you probably go Flacco, but Flacco's 41 years old right now. Kenny Pickett is out there. He'd be a free agent as well. Mitch Trubisky is coming out of Buffalo. He was on 2.6 last year. Case Keenum, Trey Lance might be worth a shot as a number 3. Josh Johnson has played for 17 or 18 teams. He was in Washington. Carson Wentz out of Minnesota is a free agent. Malik Willis, I think, will get money that the Falcons don't necessarily want to spend this go round. And I don't know that I'd want to spend. I haven't seen enough out of Malik Willis to make sure that he's not the next Matt Flynn. It's, he had a nice run of 4 or 5 games. Let's give him $100 million. No, guys, please. I know it's monopoly money to you guys, but make them earn it a little bit more than that. So we'll see. We will see on that. There were a couple things I wanted to get into. If y'all wanted to, there was a pretty detailed report on 92.9. One of the guests, she was a NFL on CBS Cleveland Browns reporter. Aditi King Kabwala came on to the radio station and talked about what an amazing job that Stefanski did tailoring a practice plan for his rookie quarterbacks, because he had 2 of them last year, and Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. It was very opposite from some of the narrative that we've heard throughout the the X-verse, the comment sphere, the TikTok world. It was very, very different. She gave a very detailed summary of what he would do for each quarterback and how he went above and beyond to try and get them ready and coach them. That's on a front page on falconsi.com. And then Mina Kimes, she seems to take an interest in the Falcons. There's a couple people out there that you can tell that either have sources or pay closer attention than others, and Mina Kimes is one of those. And sometimes you see them when they can get overly critical, like we can when you think good, I predict good, I talk good, and then I get let down. I'm kind of pissed off. When I was ranking teams and you do preseason rankings, whether it's high school or college, and you go out there and they make you look dumb, you're kind of mad about it. You're kind of mad about it on that. So there are going to be bridge options. There's just not good ones. And some of the guys will become available after March 13th, guys like Kirk Cousins. Frankly, it could be Cousins. He's played with Stefanski. They've got to cut him first, or at least tear up his contract first. He will hit $35 million on dead cap. That cannot be changed unless Kirk Cousins gives money back. And he ain't gonna. If you were to retire and say, okay, I'm out, here's $35 million refund that I'm not then taking. That ain't gonna happen. But re-sign him for $10 million. I mean, he honestly, out of all the guys I named, Kirk Cousins is going to be one of the top options out there. And he won't get another $100 million guaranteed, but he'll get 25 somewhere. He may get 25 million guaranteed. You get a 2-year, $30 million deal with 25 guaranteed. That's basically a 1-year deal, and I can cut you next year. So we'll see. We'll see on that one. Let me go back through here as we're talking about some folks. Michael says, I read the Bucks are interested in Algier and Pitts. How would you feel if that happens? They're not going to do anything about Algier, but him being, and I just saw a post on X. Someone says, oh, he'd be the perfect backup to, who's their quarterback? Bucky? running back. He's not, he doesn't want to go. If he's going to be a number 2, he might as well be a number 2 in Atlanta. So if he's going to take $3 million to go be to be a number 2 running back, why leave Atlanta? He's got a pretty good situation here. So no, that doesn't make any sense to me. Pitts is going to get tagged. If the Bucks want him, they're going to have to trade for him. The Falcons they're going to tag him and then work on a contract extension and or trade him. So if the Bucks want Pitts, and I want at least a second rounder, and if the Bucks want him in division, it's going to be your first. And where are they drafting? I would imagine they're probably right around 15. I think the Falcons are 13. Tampa's at 15. Yeah. I want your first. If you want Kyle Pitts, well, if he's not worth that, well, then he's not for sale. I love when people get mad when they want 2 first rounders for this guy. He's not worth that. He's not blah, blah, blah. It's like, then he's not for sale. If you want him, you're going to have to give me way more than he's worth. You're going to have to pay a premium to send him in division. Otherwise, I'm happy with him. I'm not going to have him go. Trini Boy, good to see you. Thank you for being a member. He says, I went with 2 wide receivers in a mock draft. Brazel and Branch in rounds 2 and 3. If that's how it falls, I got no problem with that. The Falcons need 2 wide receivers. And because the second contracts on receivers is so astronomical, I think you should always have 2 rookie receivers. At least, let me rephrase. You should always have 2 receivers on rookie contracts that are hopefully contributing. That could end up being a 5th-year guy like Drake London will be this year. But you should always have that receivers on rookie, because the contracts for receivers, the second receiver contracts, they're astronomical. I think they're overpaid. Again, in the scheme of things, there's way too much money floating around in professional sports, period. I get that. From a percentage basis of what receivers make compared to their peers, I think the receiver position is overpaid relative to other positions. I think you can find wide receivers out there. Appreciate you, Michael. He says, hope you're staying safe with the weather. We did. Dirty Bird Star. We're going to need a new backup running back. Hopefully we can get some value there later in the rounds. Yeah, and that's a place where you can absolutely do that. So and you can get early contributors. Let me go through this here real quick. NFL draft ref 2025. So in this year, in the rookie, out of rookie rushing yards, I'm just going to do rushing yards, not receiving yards. But this was supposed to be like the best rookie running back class of all time. The leading, and all these guys are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 guys that rush for at least 500 yards. The drafts that they went, the picks where they went, were 6. That was Ashton Jenney. Okay, number 1. He was first round pick. He had 975 yards rushing. Travion Henderson, New England. He was the only one that went. He went second round. He went number 38. Number second round, Quishon Judkins. He was number 3. Number 4 was 7th round pick Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Number 5 was 7th round pick Kyle Manangi. I've never pronounced that guy's name. So the Chicago Bears guys, Manangai. I've never pronounced his name. Apologies. Houston running back, 4th round pick. This is next in line. Woody Marks, 1st round pick of Marion Hampton, and then finally 2nd round pick RJ Harvey. So of the top 6 guys, 3 of them, half were day 3 picks. You can get running backs on day 3, and that's why you don't pay Tyler Algier to be your second running back. I'm willing to take a chance on an unproven guy with a day 3 pick to be my number 2 guy when I have Bijan Robinson on that one. Chris says, is Jake Matthews retiring, or is that a rumor in BS post I saw? I have heard nothing of that, but I'm not on Facebook because they allow way too much of that stuff to go through. It's crazy to me. There's one, how they spam that stuff where they'll create 30 team sites and then say Ronald Acuna Jr. Oh, he just adopted this girl. And then I'll see the same one from, an Oakland A's site, just adopted. It gets millions of impressions and interactions. It's garbage. Second Short says, I'm worried that Stefanski is going to bring down a special teams coordinator from Cleveland. They were literally worse than the league. Really? I mean, how could you be worse than the Falcons? I'd have to look all that stuff up. Hopefully he'll, yes, you can build your own staff, but I also have veto powers as Matt Ryan. No, you can do better than that. I think you can do better than that. See if you can find somebody else. See if we can find someone else on that. Let's go. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and start working my way up. We're at 47 minutes already. There we go. And unnormalize. Where's the capitalize on this? Is it Manun guy? That probably makes most sense on that one. Appreciate you helping me out on that one. Manun guy is how I would probably say it. Avion Trails at Clemson. Boy, Clemson had a tough go of it. There's some people that lost some serious money. And people go so quarterback crazy. Golly. How many quarterbacks do we see in July in the first round that end up being day 3 picks? Clint Kubiak, sorry. That's stuck in my head now. Clint Klubnik on that one. Terry says, bring Nick Chubb home for half the price to back up Bijan. How did Nick do this year? I don't remember. I don't remember seeing him like, oh, there he is. But how did he do this year? He was with Houston, played pretty good. He had 122 carries, 4.1 yards per carry, which was the second lowest. It was up from last year coming back from a knee injury, but it was second lowest of his career, and he's 30. He just turned 30. He turned, so happy birthday. Turned the 2 days after Christmas, just turned 30. I mean, that minimums. Otherwise, with running backs, I need youth. I really do. Interesting there for sure. Might be worth it. And Javier Zapata says, better chance at a number 2 cornerback or a wide receiver in free agency. That's a great question. Because we thought, and I think it ended up being kind of a wash because Darnell Mooney outplayed his contract as a first-year guy, so you got better value for him, and then woefully underplayed it in his second year. So that one kind of washed out, and he was still $15 million a year. For $15 million, I can get a better number 2 corner. I can get, for what it costs, I can get a better number 2 corner. I mean, let's do player contracts. If I do contract average, and I'm just going to go down and do who's number 20, just to give you an idea of what it costs. The number 20 wide receiver is $22 million. It's Devontae Adams. Chris Godwin is tied with him. That's the number 20 wide receiver on contract average. The number 20 cornerback it's probably half that. Number 20, it still comes up to 16. There's a drop off after that where 22 goes to 13. So there is a line there right at 20 where it's 16, and then 25 is 12. Where 25 at wide receiver is 18 million. So 50% increase in money once I get into the number 2 range of money on there. So from an expense standpoint, getting a number 2 corner is a lot cheaper. And frankly, I mean, think Mike Hughes isn't bad. I wish he was the number 3, but he's not terrible. He'd be a solid number 3 guy. And he's getting paid number 3 money. And it, when you're not very good at managing the cap, that you end up having to cut corners in places, no pun intended. That was totally an accident on cornerback. Curtis says, is it my screen or did Scott freeze? It's still going okay from here. So someone give me the thumbs up that you're still going okay, but mine's going okay. So it might be yours on that one. Terry says, give me an offensive tackle in the second round that can challenge McGarry and Jake as a rookie, but also serve as our backup swing tackle. We currently don't have any offensive tackle depth. Elijah Wilkinson is a guard, and Storm Norton is Storm Norton. I'm sorry, I don't know why it says it's freezing. So apologies. It seems to be okay on my side. I'm not getting any error message or anything. So that's it. Yeah, talk about one of the best bargains in the NFL is Puka on late round money. I'm glad the money's coming through. I think I hear my video card. Maybe I've got a couple too many tabs open. I hear my video card in the background putting in a little work. It's got like 3 fans in there, so it sounds like a chopper taking off. So apologies for that it's been going like that. My forehead's overloading the network. Yeah, now I'm gonna get hot. Now it's gonna get shiny. When things start going wrong like that, I start getting like embarrassed and hot, and I start sweating on that. So yeah, okay. There's a StreamYard end on things. Cold weather knocking out servers or something. So let's get in, and I'm glad the audio's been okay. Dirty Bird Star. So you know what? We're at 53 minutes. We're about to call the end of a day. So if we're having technical problems, we don't need to try and force it to an hour. But did get a chance to say hello to most everybody. Want to then say thank you again to our super chat superstars like Curtis, Air, Nick Sutton came in twice, Real Talk, Second and Short, Falcons Report, and Javier are coming in as well. And hopefully, I wasn't expecting to have problems today. That's for sure. If I'm going to have problems, I'm expecting problems Wednesday when I've got a new setup. But picking up Chad Jensen, Mile High Huddle from the Atlanta airport. So hopefully everything comes in. All the planes and the airports are running just fine today. Picking him up today. We're heading down to Mobile tomorrow. Practice starts tomorrow afternoon. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll talk about some of the standouts. Kevin Stefanski is having his introductory press conference on Tuesday. We'll hit on that as well. And hopefully pretty good chance. I don't know if they're going to do it in the middle of Kevin Stefanski's press conference and introductory press conference. But I think this is done, y'all. I really do. They've got their guy. They're just waiting for the right moment. And that might be after Tuesday when they introduce Kevin Stefanski. And then we can go live, talk Senior Bowl, talk draft, talk new GM this week. So we are out of here. And that's it. Did we bring Ray back? No, I don't think so. I think he's probably done too on that one. So We lied. Everything's been fine. Stick around. Well, don't do that to me. No, I know. Again, the network's probably stressed a little bit with everybody now working from home, and there's probably a couple servers down, some power outages around there. So we're out of here. Hope y'all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe. I know we're okay here in Metro Atlanta, but I know some people got hit pretty hard by this winter storm. So stay safe out there. And we'll see y'all on Wednesday. Keep an eye on FalconsSI.com. We'll have some Kevin Stefanski reactions. Headed down to Mobile. We'll see you Wednesday morning to talk some Senior Bowl, some drafts, some Falcons general manager, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all have a good day.